Alright.
It's an impromptu discussion. I'm going to start.
Yeah, just go for it. Let's go ahead and start.
Alright. Hello, this is a discussion on DM-Mythic, a map that is currently in the UT competitive duel map pool, which I get the funny feeling is not too well favoured by some players, unless you're at the higher level. So, I'm going to go through and explain some of the things in this map and the way they work, and hopefully people will take a different approach to the way they play this map. So this map started out as actually it started out in Diabolical. Prior to Diabolical's release, it was actually intended to be a map that could potentially be in the original pool. It came about as a mixture of DM For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is the UT99 map, and a Blood Run, which is the Quake Live / Quake 3 map that most people know, ZTN. It came about because I wanted to do a dual map, which is a little bit old school. You know, you got to respect the chokes. It's been through many iterations, but I'll just discuss the current version and why it is the way it is and how it is. So Nance, what's your feelings on the way that the map plays as a dual player? Before I go into the design stuff.
It's rough.
It's rough.
Yeah, I'm not exactly selling the map.
Yeah, the feeling I get is that you really need to be a solid dueler to be playing this map, and there's reasons for that, and it's because I choke a lot of the map.
Yeah, it's just there's so many chokes, and it feels really difficult to make good pushes sometimes.
But what's the thing that happens? What's the thing that happens between those chokes?
There's conflict over an item.
Well, there's conflict.
Yeah.
But what happened? But there's one thing that the map does. This is a design thing, and that's the timing between those chokes. They're all equal. You agree?
Can you actually elaborate on that?
Sure. If we're having a fight here, mate, right? And you decide to back off and go to flag, right?
Yeah.
Now, where's the next point that I can try fight you? And this is a decision-making thing, right? Let's say you decide to go through and enter the teleporter. You just drop down, right? Now, if I was to backpedal from where I am right now, I could set myself in front of that teleporter at the time that you'd come through that teleporter. Yeah?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But let's say you didn't come through the teleporter. You decided to go low. Right?
Okay, yeah.
I would reposition and come back down to the minigun to deal with that. Let's say you decided not to go through any of that, right, and come back out at the shock rifle, or you headed back around to the lane.
Right.
What happens there? That's all timed. So the decision making that you have in this map is based on the player-to-player interaction. What are they going to do? Now that's fairly standard through most maps. Like if you're playing a race, right? Someone is shock heavy, you know you're going to go meet them at the shock room, right? And you're going to rotate accordingly. But the thing that happens here is that the timing that you meet should be through a choke point, based on that decision, right? Okay, let's do that again, right? You want to go back to flak, right? Now, I know you're a fucking pussy, so you're going to go grab that health. Right?
Yeah.
What am I going to do, right? I'm going to drop down and meet you at the lower area, because I know you're going to try come through to get that health.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. So the routing in the map is dependent on time, or is set up to be timing. And when timing occurs, dueling happens, right? Now I'm not talking about the standard UT4 duel on the most maps. It's very conflict heavy, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're always trying to get little bits of damage here and there. Whereas here, you have time and space to deal with and think about what the other player is going to do. Right, so the layout of the map is all set up to have that happen. Right, let's go back up to 100.
Fuck, what's the fastest way?
Right.
All right, I got it.
Hey, look, we all meet at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of.
So, right. So this is the main area of the map, right? And it's the main area for a couple of reasons. One, the 100 armor is here, right? So that's the most vital health/armor pickup that you can have on the map, because it's the one that's the most abundant over a period of a minute.
Yep.
It's going to give out 200 armor, right? And the other crucial thing that happens in this area, right, which keeps the importance up, is the shock rifle, which is arguably the most important pickup in Duel. Would you agree there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what does that weapon do? Since this map is so choke heavy, it's going to lock off so much of the map if you have control of it. So that's the one reason why it's just a shock rifle down there. Its ammo wasn't there. So if you want to sit there and hold that, right, what do you get? If you're playing standard UT weapons without any modification, that's going to be, you get 4 shot combos, don't you? On a standard pickup, 16 ammo, 4 ammo
4
per
shot?
combo.
Yeah.
I know it's slightly modified in some of the competitive
I kind of forgot.
in the game. I can't remember the top of my head. So there's 1 shock ammo up here, right? But it doesn't sit. It doesn't sit at the bottom, right? You've got to fight to get it, and the time to get up to here, right, means that that's a very tricky thing just to get if you win. Off the get-go. So let's say, I think there's a spawn that's right here, right? You come and get that shock rifle, cool, right? You've got your shots, but you either got to do the dodge up, which I can't do because of ping, or you've got to run the long way.
Yeah, the route, wrap around.
You got to run the route, that there is 7 to 10 seconds maybe, and that's quite important time considering what else someone else can do on the map. That's a vital weapon for this map. I mean, it's a vital weapon every single duel map. You want to be able to control that. The one, what do you reckon a map is? It's not super shock. It has to be solo, yeah.
Like a not super shock kind of map.
Yeah, I want to say solo.
I would honestly say something like Leah. Like I know, like
Leah?
It sounds ridiculous. But
well, that's because so the reason for that is because the other weapons because it's such a tight map.
Yeah,
you have far more usability in the other weapons, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here, shock locks off all the areas because of how choke heavy the map is. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's why it's here with limited ammo, right? And you can control the spaces. So this is the main room of the map, right? Now, what differs it from other maps is that it doesn't do a split 100 armor shield belt. If you press tab, mate, you'll see that the 100 armor sits in the middle of the map, and you have belt to one side of it, 50 armor to the other. Yeah. It's almost it's a little triangle, but it's not cross map. So cross map would be solo is a cross map example. ASDF is kind of cross map ish. It's cross map on Leah. It's cross map on Deep. It's not quite cross map on a race, just because of the movement options that you have.
Yeah.
Especially if you're taking the, you take belt, you dodge up to the lift, you take the lift, and you're there in 3 seconds. So here it's not quite cross map, but I limit the way that you move between the map. People who played the earlier version of the map would have realized that this was a drop down. Well, this was a drop down map.
Oh yeah, that was a while back.
And what happened there is that, now this is still a timing thing, still a position thing. This here ended up being the strongest part of the map, this bio area below, right? Just because of the drop, to deal with it, because you can get back into this sweet position, and its access towards the rest of the map. So what ended up happening was that you had a very quick access that get through the belt, right? You can take the belt and then switch back into this position and make moves from here. Even if you don't actually take the belt or take the item, right? This position here was strongest because you had so many options from it based on what the other player was doing. But the crucial thing that, at least from a design perspective, in this most latest version of the map is locking down how you travel through this area. So, we'll just do a quick example of how the old map was. Open area, from top you can drop down, and then you can quickly make your way over and take the belt, right? That's a 2 to 3 second move, with dodging.
There was no door, right?
There was no door.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Okay.
There was a door, right? Excuse me. There's a choke here, but there was no side entrance, right? This here was open. You could run and dodge, come back. You have relative safety, and then on that, because of the way the timing works, you've now got information on the 100 armor. You won't be able to take it, right? Unless you're a risky motherfucker who just decides to just jump up and go grab it, right? But you have information on it, and since it's likely that with the way that the timings work with the weapon spawn, you probably have a shock here. You could deny the 100 armor. Come back to the position here, wait for spawn, make a decision from there. So this area is the one that got the most change when being iterated on. From a dueling perspective, you probably thought this was quite difficult to fight, at least against SAS, right?
Yeah, the thing was they have the belt door, right? They would walk over here. They have information on 50. You cannot fight this person that has a full stack, and then they also have information on the 100 as well. So it's like that was rough.
Yeah, right. Now, what actually happened there? And now this might seem backwards the way that it was done, but it works out in the end. At least from a dueling perspective, is we denied the opportunity to go through and get the belt from this direction. That there changed the way timings work, changed the way approaching the fighting works, and always forced it. If you knew someone was down low, right, there was 2 approaches you can now take them. So they're either going to be fighting out here or dealing with this new route that's up here, up on the ramp, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't mind that you can have quick exits from the belt going back to the 100 armor, right? Because you're cut off on this area from going back. So we talked about how it's a very easy to push into that particular position, right? Get the info right. But the thing is, though, here you could do the damage and go back. However, now I stop you from going through back into the belt area to continue that fight. You've got to take much longer routes to get out of here. Hence why that was blocked off, right? Because you can still hammer back up if you really wanted to. You now have to, if you want to get back onto the top position, so it completely reduces the strength of it, must take the teleporter, right? Or take one of the long routes back up. Now, while you're doing that, the person on the top side has the ability to put themselves in position to deal with you depending on the way that you play. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Right. Yeah. So,
could you also elaborate on? I know this is probably a weird question, but why isn't this door the other way around? So it's a little bit more difficult to get out of the belt room.
That's what I just slightly covered there. So I don't want people to be able to get a free belt, right?
Right.
When the door was open here, you could dodge over, get the belt, come back, right? Here, from this position here, it's 2 dodges across to get to the belt, right?
Okay.
Rather than 1, right? So that's time that you're spending here, and 2 dodges worth 1 is worth, a second and a half. That's another rocket that can be fired. That's another sniper shot can be fired. That's another shock combo that can be fired, right?
Yeah.
When you could take the belt and then run away, right? The other person would have to follow in order to deal with you. And when they did that, right, they usually were pulled out of position, and it ended up being a snowball effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So that's why it seems like it's backwards, like you want to deny access to the belt, but here deny your escape off the belt, right? But here I want to deny your access to the belt because it forces the fight onto the belt rather than it being the exit of the belt pickup. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So like here you can quickly escape. That's all good, right? But see, you're there at that position, right? Look where I could have come from. I put you at the lowest part of the map, right?
Yep.
If you want a stronger position, it's a timing thing. So you stay there, right? I decide not to come through. I want to take top position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's up here rather than 2 seconds to run low. You've got to trade off time versus position for that fight. Now, if someone sees you doing that, right? They can reposition. They've got options up here in the belt here and what they want to do. They come back to here, this position here.
Yep.
You know?
Fight you off.
Yeah. Or do they completely deny it? Maybe they call you bluff, right? They decide to go back to 100 armor, right? So that's a timing thing, depending on, if you're playing against Sess, he's probably, stalling a belt spawn, delaying it, etc., etc. He might be even delaying 100 armor, So that's sort of like, it's a little bit of a high-level mind games that occur there. Now the funny thing about that, we haven't actually talked about combat at all.
No,
that's all just based on position. The combat is secondary on this map, the position. So that's why I think some of the players are not really get into it, because I'm denying you from clicking.
Can you explain some of the decisions you make for like weapon placement?
Well, I'll come back to that,
okay,
right?
Okay.
But in combat, do you notice you're quite restricted about what weapon selection you have, or weapon loadout, or basically what guns you can use within a fight? Like Leah, you can use any gun, right? Here, you're probably going to be denying a choke point or a push forward through, outside of the choke point, right?
Yeah.
So when that happens, you kind of, you can, if you're playing on a race, right, you can generally get away with, both hit scan and splash at the same time, yeah?
Yeah.
And projectile splash, maybe link primary on a particular angle, or not that it splits, but you know what I mean. You could point is, but let's say a race versus here, right? You're probably denying someone from pushing forward, right?
Yeah.
So you're using rockets or maybe flak, right? But in that case, sometimes you are completely without the weapon you actually need. Whereas on some of those other maps, you can get away with using any weapon that you have. Do what you need to do, yeah?
I think so too.
Yeah. So I'll come back to weapon selection, but here it because of the way the map's laid out, I actually force you to pick the weapon for you, more so than the other maps do. And that's why shock is very important, right? Because it's going to be, you can deny entire entrances and exits to map, to rooms based on shock number. And rockets will do the same effect. So, yeah.
I actually didn't even know that you did that intentionally.
No, well,
or maybe
it came around naturally, just by the way the map is. Sort of like, I didn't do that by intention to start with, but as I saw various playthroughs of yourself and Sass playing and whatnot, hang on a second. We're not really playing UT here. We're actually playing Quake.
You're probably right about that.
You are. I mean, but which is the better dueling game? Now, if you're a fan of UT, you're probably going to say UT, right? If you're a fan of Quake, you'll say Quake. But the most balanced, I think, use everything game is Quake Live. They've got the so-called unholy trinity of weapons, and there's various situations to use that. So, but anyway, that did affect the way that the weapons are laid out, right? But to be honest, the way I work on that is that you split your rocket and flak, right? Because they're your two projectile weapons. You somewhat split Link and minigun because they have the same sort of use, although minigun for the most part is, what do you call it?
It's utility. It's utility.
Yeah. And then shock and sniper are split but also central on the map because of the particular use, right?
Yeah.
Shock, I want something to be something that's controlled and in a high active area, and that's why, this is the main area of the map right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most fights happen here. So I wanted them to be a very difficult place to get, and you can deny shock from up here with most weapons. If you have a rockets, you're going to be able to deny the shock pickup. If you jump down and have shock, you're going to deny the shock pickup. If someone's, you could stop someone with a blink gun potentially because of the time. So notice the position of it in this room, right? It's right here, right? It's not here. It's not here. You've got to make the dodge out to go get it.
Yeah, it's a full commitment.
It's a commitment, yes. And when you're there, you know, this whole area is in use. Although, just from a map design perspective, and we're not going to cover too much of this, though. The basic idea of this room is you only utilize half of it, right? And what I mean by that is that you at least have one side that doesn't have an entrance or an exit, right? aka this side here, the wall side. And whenever you enter this room, right, provided you're in the right position, a commit, you should know that the 100 armor is up, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Aside this position.
Yes, you've got to be in the room to know the 100 armor's up, with the exception from the lower area here. But then again, this here, if you can pummel this area of rockets or whatever to deny if you know someone's going to come through, right? And that's area denial. So that's basic, fighting through a choke point 101.
Yep.
The teleporter itself, there's a way to alleviate that, and adjust for that position. And you've got options from here. You want to rotate the whole way around or whatnot, try to get the high ground. It's all about risk versus reward and pushing into various choke. And all that comes based on a player versus player matchup. Of what someone to do. You'd say like you came through the teleporter, right? You could bait someone into, who's taking the top control to come down. I mean, you know how to deal with that type of stuff. You dodge away, and you probably, if you come through the teleporter, you probably have bio to deal with that. Let's say from a fresh spawn. But you can also run through and grab rockets, to deal with it.
Yeah.
And push. And then say, well, someone runs off, right? Now, say you've run away, right? You don't want to push through. What's going to happen here? Let's say the 100 armor's up, right? It's a timing thing. You're going to push back. I've got the rockets ready.
Yep.
We're going to meet up at the same time. So, yeah, I know. We're probably going around in circles here. I know it's impromptu, but that's kind of how it works.
I actually really like
most people dueling will know that shit, right? So
they don't know it until they know it, but they do know it.
They do know it.
Sense. Yeah.
Here it gets forced upon them, unlike the other maps. That's what is so different about this map and the other maps, right?
I can actually tell you, I've had multiple games with Plasma, SAS, and they'd be at helmet, and I'm like in this exact position, right? And in just 1 or 2 seconds, we're meeting on either side, poking at each other, right? And it's like the fight just never really ends, even though there's a whole wall in front of you. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, right. That if anyone's played a UT9 dual map, Turbine, Codex, or whatnot, that's the same principle that happens there. You're really fighting across the whole map, even though there's walls in the way, and it is at a distance, right? But your weapon selection is based on whether the person's going to push forward or push back, and vice versa, based on what you want to do. Whether you want to push forward with a certain weapon, push back with a certain weapon. So in terms of room composition, we kind of covered a little bit with the 100 armor. You kind of need to be on the top level to know that it's up, right beyond this top level. With exception from here, I think you can just make it out on this point here, which is fine because this is kind of a somewhat neutral area anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of 50 area, right, this is meant to be your recovery area. Now, I do the same tricks here. You need to be at the 50 to know the 50 is up. So if you're standing here, right, that fellow's in there on the way, right, you actually have to stand in and commit to the room to know the 50's up. Whereas from the lower floor, from the top area, you need to know whether it's up, right? That's actually, So hang on, I'll just go back through that again. You can see here that the 50 is up from a distance, right? Then you know to commit for it, right? But in order to do so, you're going to take probably maybe 2 shots if there's someone sitting at bio.
Yeah,
You know.
it's a combo.
Yeah. So it's like it's all risk versus reward, you know, and the map's forcing you to do it. What you shooting at me?
You fucked up, mate.
Oh. Right. But I mean that's the setup for all the items. So like, if I go back over to belt, right? Now belt was an area that took me ages to quite get feeling right. Simply because if you're standing up here, if you come up to top of rockets, mate.
Top rockets, yeah.
Right. From here, you don't know the belt's up, right? You can jump or whatnot. You can come to this point here. Well, you can jump and see the belt's up. That's all good, right? But to generally know the belt is there, you need to be standing basically here, right? And you're now committed to the fight.
Yep.
So it's all about committal before you know. And that's the same principle of ASDF, right? You might know the belt is up, you know, because of timing, right? But in order to see that belt is up, you're either standing at the top of shock, which you can't directly get to because to the belt, that is, because you've got something in the way. I think it's that window on top of the jump pad. Or you have to jump down lower to, jump down the lower area to get it. And the same principle applies when you're going to the left and right of it. So if you're pushing forward here, right, you can't see the belt is up until you're sort of right on it. You know, that information is denied from you. If you want to go get that belt, right, it's not you don't see it down the hallway like it's on a race. You don't see it across the map like it is on deep. You can't see it. It's kind of. I mean, it's okay on like Leah. You use restricted information there, but the point is that information is denied from you until you want to commit to it. You need to know it's there, and what that does, from a design point of view, is it forces you into the fight. If you don't want to know the belt is up, then you're not dragged into the fight. Yeah.
Do you... I know we're pretty much just making this for mostly Ghost Glitch, but do you remember any specific things you wanted to know besides just how to play it itself? Like...
Well, we actually haven't described how to play it other than what you can and can't do.
Right.
I mean, the map is still strong from that lower point, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking for very map-specific things here, I've just described them, right? The rotations between the items, the information that you get before you get to the item, the information you get when you're at an item, and then information basically is it up or not, right?
Yep.
That's the most crucial thing, because if you're going to commit to fight, and most people, well, at least the ones I've seen, the way they want to play duel is they jump on an item.
Yep, of course.
It's not even evaluating the risk of being hurt. It's more, let's deny, and fight our way out of the situation, which works for some maps, but here it doesn't, because the committal level required to go for a particular item is much higher than the others. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll field some questions for you.
I can't really think of anything on the spot at the moment.
I mean, we could maybe go through health positioning, maybe.
You mean like recovery and stuff? Or like vials and things?
Yeah, I mean... So there's 9 vials on the map. No, excuse me. Is there 9 vials? There's 11 vials on the map. And they're just dispersed out among the map at positions to give away your position if you take it. I.e. flak, lower area, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, there's a couple of vials down there, right? Now, if you hear vials, 3 vials, and then jump pad, someone's going up to the top area with the flak. It's basic shit. If you hear the combo, do that. Same thing over with the belt vials. The vials sit there just before a jump pad.
You forget about these as well.
Yeah. There's a couple of vials over here, and this is a slightly different thing. If you hear vials here, right, someone's vastly, well, they're either in position or out of position depending on the way the fight is going, right?
Yeah.
If you're having someone who's control heavy, wants to take the vials, right? That they're just trying to mop up the map and gain an advantage. But it's not really, you can take the vials here, then go back up the rocket, or you take the vials and drop down the belt, or whatnot. This one's a bit of an outlier, and the same thing applies over here. Maybe you're out of position, you're out of position and just want to take these 2 vials here, or you're in position and you're mopping up the map. Now the health position itself, this map doesn't work like, say, ASDF, right? Because ASDF is effectively a square map in design, and the corner of 2 of the squares you run belt and 100 armor, and the other corner of those 2 squares you've got the 50 pickup, the 25 pickup, and 2 sets of health, which works well for ASDF because of the let's say you have a fighter belt, you lose, you respawn, you go, hey, they're probably going to try to recover. They've probably gone to that one corner of the map. You get to position yourself, potentially to take the do some damage or the refrag. There's 100 or so variables that can happen within there, and it's all down to player matchup and dual mindset. But on this map, it doesn't quite work that way. The reason for that is because belt, 100 armor, 50 armor in a triangle. So what happens on recovery? Well, if I did clusters of 2 health, 25 health packs that is, then recovery is super strong for a given area. Because let's say you have 50 armor here, you've taken that on say you had a fight here for whatever reason, right? That they happen because some people want to fight here, this is not the best place to have a fight, right? Because you going to result in being out of position for the rest of the map. But let's say if you take that, come around and if you can recall in previous versions, we used to run 2 health packs here. Run 2 health packs, right? And we used to have the health pack that was sitting down here, which is still a nice recovery position. You now got 75 health off the back, plus you probably have a 50 armor as you have to go. You're actually in a strong position to deal with the the 100 armor, based on regardless of what situation it is. Over the various iterations, we've decided to go to split the health. It's going to be on a route. You either take one route and get 25 health one way, or you go another route and get 25 health the other way. It's not a case of get 50 one way and then 25 another. You get 25 and 25 if you want to, combo the 2, and that works the same for on the other side of the map, where I run a 25 here, and if you want to go around and get the 25 in the corner here, sort of like it's not a, you go to immediate corner of the map to go get that health refill. You can do it on the spot. I was kind of hesitant about that, but it works out in the long. I do like the stronger map ideas like ASDF, where it's sort of you do have that split because you know that on, the way that a dual game works. You have a close fight. You might have secured the item, but only had 23 health or whatnot.
Yes, they have to commit to the double health pack area.
But that's the thing, is that there's also a mind game that happens in there. So this map here, it doesn't really apply because of the routing stuff that you have that goes in between. Where you just want a little bit of health, and you just get back to a conversation, a standoff confrontation type situation. So, any other questions, mate?
Not really.
I think the main point really is this map is really based on rotation, timing, and commitment through a choke. Based on what the situation is, and the take away from this is that I restrict the amount of decisions that you can make outside of going through a choke. There's on maps like Race or whatnot. You've got many options from a given position. Looking on certain angles, cut-offs or whatnot. Here, that's all restricted and pulled back. You need to know the player you're fighting, and know that your weapon selection is going to be restricted based on that. So it's a bit more of a pure duel map than it is a confrontational DM style map where you kind of play duel as well.
Yeah, I think that just about sums it up, really.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of things we're forgetting, mate, but I don't know. I think, if we add Sass here, you could probably cover off a couple of sort of,
Very gameplay-y kind of things.
gameplay stuff that he knows about. But as I said, the main points, is respect the chokes. If you're fighting this map, you're not fighting is not a given. Position trumps fighting at all times on this map.
I think my favorite part of the map is just the teleporter alone. Because... Yeah, I know, like, the teleport is a huge commitment, right, from the 50. But it's like, when somebody knows that you want to go through the teleporter, and then you shake them off, right? There's the whole mind game of, I'm used to go in a second late, And then I'm going to do extraordinary damage, because I know you're there.
Yeah.
And that happens with Sass a lot, where we just pretty much just have these weird fights here at the teleporter, and it's like he won't expect it, I won't expect it, and it's just a double like.
When that happens, I'm happy. That's a mind game.
yeah, it's fun.
Because there's one thing that has kind of been missing from Duel lately, and that's a build up towards a frag. When you watch like old UT99 games of Lauk versus Gitz or whatnot, right?
Of course.
There's that awesome feeling of tension of when is the frag going to happen, right? Right now, if you're looking at 2022, right? Everyone wants to fight, whatnot. They'll probably think those guys are pussies or whatnot. Oh yeah, fight. Well, they're not being pussies. It's
they had no
it's
choice.
a committal thing. Yeah, and that's something. It's just I didn't see that as here in the current map pool for UT4. And here's the thing: is the the weapon balance, the way that the movement works, all that type of stuff. It is the most balanced esport ready it could ever be, right? I know people playing UT Plus at the moment, right? And that's probably takes that stuff to another point, or another level. Plus makes them, there's a fun factor to it, the way they work, in the competitive level. Yeah. But the thing that's always missing is that tension for a frag. And I think that's far more important than the actual frag itself. The frag is the conclusion to a story, and that's I want more stories to be played out within the map. Many stories, many chapters. Pockets of gameplay rather than people run at each other with their enforcer, and the kill occurs because of either someone's running into them or they get lucky with a weapon, or they finally cess them down.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to end on one last point, which is something I've noticed with people playing this map. We had a lot of difficulty getting the spawns right in this map. We don't actually have the spawn markers on, so I actually can't remember exactly how the spawns work. But
I have a good idea then, but whatever.
You've got a good. See, maybe you can explain it as well. We had an issue of the way the spawn system works in UT4. Something on the lines of the furthest two being away, and you get a selection of those, or something to that effect. I think sometimes it can be a bit random, right? I see so many people making the wrong spawn selection. That's a real key thing with this map. Is that when you get shot, right, killed, like I've tried to build up the tension towards a frag, right? Do take half a second to think where you're going to spawn, right? Because that is all mind games as well. You can get away with probably left clicking on Lear. Right, I know there's 20 spawns and that's 3 per weapon, etc., etc.
Yep.
And you can probably kind of get away with on a race. You can kind of get away with on ASDF as well. This map here, right? There's a good chance that you will get steamrolled if you pick the wrong selection. To pick the wrong spawn. Yeah. And I think you've been at the receiving end of some of that shit. Yeah.
Oh, naturally.
Yeah. It's funny that the map layout itself doesn't actually bode well towards the UT4 spawn system.
I mean, it's just plain broken, honestly.
Well,
it works. It's just
UT4 spawn system is good, right? We know that.
Yeah.
You know?
I just think there's an actual bug where it'll give you like two of the same spawn, like on ASDF. Like it totally unintentional, but it does happen all the time.
When you're talking about facing the weapon from one way and then facing
Yep.
the weapon from the other way.
Yep.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Well, there's
Can't
single
control it.
spawns per weapons here, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I can't remember the fix that Sass and I actually ended up doing for this particular map.
I think you put singles for each weapon.
It has to be singles per weapon, yeah. And
Yeah.
even then, I think he can get messed up. So, being on this plane's back, do not mash left click. That's all I gotta say. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's a fine conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll resend it.
Yeah.